When a woman says you're too sensitive, it might seem harmless at first. But beneath this simple phrase lies a deeper psychological pattern that no man should ever ignore. This statement is often used to minimize your feelings, dismiss your boundaries, or shift blame back onto you. It suggests that your emotional response is the problem, not her words, not her actions, not her behavior. And this is exactly why it's a form of emotional gaslighting. Instead of acknowledging what hurt you, she reframes the situation in a way that makes you question yourself. You start wondering if maybe you did overreact, if maybe you shouldn't have spoken up, or if maybe your feelings don't matter as much as hers. That's the trap, and once you fall into it, you begin to silence yourself. Healthy communication in a relationship depends on both partners being able to express concerns without being mocked, dismissed, or shamed. When she tells you you're too sensitive, what she's really saying is that your emotions are inconvenient for her. It's a strategic move meant to shut down the conversation and avoid accountability. Instead of addressing the issue, whether it's disrespect, inconsistency, or hurtful behavior, she tries to make your reaction seem exaggerated. And the more you accept this, the more you train her that she can ignore your boundaries without consequences. This phrase also attacks your masculinity in a subtle way. Society already teaches men to bottle up emotions, stay quiet, and man up. So when a woman throws this phrase at you, she's hitting a vulnerable spot that many men have been conditioned to fear, the fear of being seen as weak. And because you don't want to appear overly emotional, you start to back down. But the truth is, having boundaries isn't weakness. Speaking up isn't weakness. Wanting respect isn't weakness. Emotional awareness is not sensitivity, it's strength. The real weakness is tolerating someone who reduces your feelings to a joke. A woman who genuinely cares about you will never use your emotions against you. She will listen, ask questions, and try to understand your perspective. She will make adjustments where needed. She will value your comfort and take accountability for her actions. But a woman who repeatedly calls you too sensitive is someone who prioritizes avoiding responsibility over maintaining a healthy connection. That is not love, it's self-preservation at your expense. Men often stay in these situations because they hope things will change or they fear losing the relationship. But what you must understand is that letting this phrase slide once often means hearing it again and again. It becomes a cycle where your boundaries get smaller, your voice gets quieter, and your self-respect slowly erodes. So the moment she tries to dismiss your feelings with this phrase, take a step back. Don't argue, don't defend yourself. Simply recognize the red flag for what it is. Protect your emotional dignity. Because the right woman will never shame you for having a heart. She will appreciate you for it. When a woman says, "If you really loved me, you'd do it," she is no longer communicating from a place of connection. She is communicating from a place of manipulation. This phrase is a deliberate attempt to use your emotions as leverage, turning love into a bargaining chip instead of a bond based on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. It slowly conditions you to associate love with sacrifice, compliance, and self-betrayal. And the truth is, once love becomes a tool for control, it stops being love at all. Many men fall for this trap because the sentence hits where you're most vulnerable. Your desire to prove yourself. Men naturally want to make the woman they love happy, to show loyalty, to give effort. But emotional manipulation twists that instinct into something unhealthy, something that benefits her at your cost. Instead of expressing her needs openly, she uses guilt. Instead of explaining her feelings, she pressures you. Instead of working as a partner, she plays the role of a puppeteer pulling emotional strings. This phrase is extremely dangerous because it forces you into a corner. If you refuse, you're painted as uncaring, heartless, or unwilling to invest. If you agree, you're rewarding manipulation, teaching her that guilt works on you. And once someone knows guilt works, they will use it over and over again. Suddenly, you are doing things you don't want to do, compromising too much, giving more than you receive, and walking on emotional eggshells just to avoid being labeled as unloving. That is not a relationship. That is emotional control. A healthy woman never weaponizes love. She communicates what she wants directly. She asks instead of forcing. She shares her feelings instead of twisting yours. And most importantly, she doesn't make you choose between your boundaries and her approval. A woman who truly loves you will understand that your love shouldn't cost you your dignity, your peace, or your values. This phrase also reveals something critical about her mindset. She sees love as something you must prove, not something you naturally show. Love in a healthy relationship isn't a test you're constantly trying to pass. It's a connection where both people feel safe to express needs without coercion. But when she uses, "if you loved me," it means she's more interested in the result than the relationship. She doesn't want mutual understanding, she wants compliance. Men often justify dealing with this behavior by thinking she's emotional, or it's not a big deal, or I'm just trying to keep the peace. But every time you allow this phrase to work on you, you lose a little more self-respect. You start bending, shrinking, and suppressing your truth to maintain the relationship. And a relationship where you cannot be honest or say no is not a relationship built for the long term. Real love respects boundaries. Real love values consent. Real love never demands that you sacrifice your principles to prove your commitment. So when a woman tries to make you feel guilty for having limits, understand this. You do not need to prove your love through obedience. The right woman will never make you choose between your love for her and your love for yourself. When a woman says, "You should be lucky I'm even with you," she isn't just making a rude comment, she is revealing her entire mindset about the relationship. This phrase is designed to make you feel beneath her, as if she is the prize and you are the burden. It is meant to shift the power dynamic so that you feel grateful, inferior, and desperate to prove yourself. And the moment you let this phrase into your heart without confronting its disrespect, you begin accepting a relationship where you constantly feel like you're never enough. This sentence attacks your confidence at its core. Instead of appreciating what you bring to the relationship, your loyalty, your effort, your time, your love, she wants you to believe you don't deserve her. She wants you to believe that she can do better, that you are the one who should be trying harder, and that your role is to keep her satisfied, or else she will leave. This kind of psychological positioning is extremely damaging because it pushes you into a mindset where you settle for less, tolerate disrespect, and overcompensate just to keep the peace. Men who accept this phrase often end up walking on emotional eggshells. You start questioning yourself, your looks, your finances, your worth. You begin thinking she's too good for you, even when that's not true. And worse, you start believing that being treated poorly is better than being alone. That is how this phrase traps you. It makes you dependent, insecure, and fearful of losing someone who doesn't even value you in the first place. A woman with a healthy mindset would never demean her partner. She would uplift you, appreciate you, and make you feel chosen, not tolerated. She would recognize your strengths and support you through your flaws. But a woman who uses this phrase is not interested in partnership. She is interested in power. She wants to feel superior, she wants control, and she wants to keep you in a position where she does not have to put in equal effort. Because if she convinces you that you're lucky, she never has to self-improve, apologize, or adjust her behavior. This phrase also exposes insecurity on her part. Women who genuinely feel confident and secure do not belittle their partners. They don't need to. Only someone who fears losing control will try to maintain dominance through insults disguised as confidence. When she says you're lucky to have her, what she's really trying to avoid is the truth that she needs to work just as hard to keep you. She knows your value, but she wants you to forget it. The man who hears this phrase and stays is the man who slowly loses himself. Bit by bit, your confidence fades, your sense of worth diminishes, and you begin to accept crumbs in a relationship where you deserve a full meal. But the moment you recognize that love should never come with humiliation, things change. You start to understand that you also bring value, your loyalty, your protection, your presence, your ambition, your effort. And once you truly believe that, no woman can ever convince you that you're lucky to have her, because the right woman will never make you feel inferior. She will make you feel valued. When a woman says, "That's just how I am, deal with it," she is revealing something far more serious than stubbornness. She's revealing a complete refusal to grow. This phrase is a shield people use when they don't want to take responsibility for their actions, their habits, or their emotional reactions. It's a way of saying, I'm not interested in change, compromise, or improving myself for the relationship. And when someone refuses to evolve, the entire relationship becomes stuck, one-sided, and emotionally draining. A healthy relationship requires effort from both sides. It requires self-awareness, communication, and the willingness to make adjustments for each other's comfort and well-being. Nobody is perfect. Everyone has flaws, emotional triggers, and patterns that need work. But when she hides behind the excuse of, "That's just how I am," what she's really saying is that her comfort is more important than your peace. Her habits matter more than your boundaries. Her feelings deserve attention, but yours don't. This creates an imbalance where you become the only one adapting, adjusting, and sacrificing. Men often tolerate this phrase because they think it's better not to argue. They assume she's just being emotional or defensive. But over time, this mindset turns into a dangerous dynamic. You begin to accept bad behavior as unchangeable. Maybe she has anger issues, communication issues, jealousy problems, disrespectful habits, or inconsiderate tendencies. But every time you bring it up, she shuts you down with, "This is who I am." And slowly you start lowering your standards just to keep the peace. That's how you lose yourself, by normalizing what should never be normal. A woman who truly cares about you will never use this phrase to avoid accountability. She will try to understand how her behavior affects you. She may not be perfect, but she will be willing to learn, improve, and grow with you. Growth is a sign of emotional maturity. Stagnation is a sign of emotional immaturity. And someone who refuses to grow ends up repeating the same toxic patterns again and again, expecting the other person to deal with the consequences. This phrase is also a red flag because it shuts down communication. It sends a clear message that the relationship revolves around her comfort zone only. It suggests that she is unwilling to compromise, which is the foundation of all healthy relationships. Compromise doesn't mean losing yourself, it means meeting each other halfway. But someone who refuses to change expects you to come all the way to her side every single time. That is not compromise, that is control. The truth is, people who say, "That's just how I am," know exactly what they are doing. They're protecting their habits, not the relationship. They're choosing to stay the same even when the same behavior is causing conflict. But a relationship cannot evolve if one person refuses to. You can love someone, support someone, and care for someone, yet still not be able to grow with them because they're anchored in their old ways. The powerful moment comes when you realize you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to sacrifice your peace for someone who refuses to meet you halfway. The right woman will not expect you to tolerate what hurts you. She will choose growth over ego, accountability over excuses, and partnership over control. And that kind of woman is worth building a future with. When a woman says, "My ex used to," she is doing something far more damaging than she realizes. She is introducing comparison into a relationship that's supposed to be built on trust, individuality, and emotional safety. Comparison is a silent killer of connection. The moment she brings another man into the conversation, especially a man from her past, she changes the energy between you. Suddenly, you're no longer valued for who you are. You're being measured against someone you were never meant to compete with. And a relationship built on comparison can never be healthy, stable, or deeply intimate. This phrase is often used in subtle ways. Sometimes she says it to make you jealous. Sometimes she says it to manipulate you into doing more. Sometimes she says it because she's emotionally immature and doesn't realize how damaging it is. And sometimes she says it because she hasn't emotionally detached from her past relationship. No matter the reason, you must treat this phrase as a major red flag. A woman who compares you to her ex is either trying to control you or telling you she is not yet healed. Both are dangerous. When you hear a phrase like, "My ex used to buy me flowers," the unspoken message is clear. Why aren't you doing more? When she says, "My ex never talked to me like that," the message is, you're not good enough. And when she brings up her ex's achievements, money, or behavior, she is placing you in a position where you feel pressured to compete with the ghost. You start questioning whether you measure up. You begin feeling insecure, inadequate, or guilty. And that is exactly why this phrase is toxic. It creates emotional imbalance. A woman who truly values you would never weaponize her past to control your present. She understands that every man is different, every relationship is different, and every bond has its own rhythm. She knows that comparing you to someone else destroys trust, lowers your confidence, and kills the emotional safety needed for a strong relationship. Healthy women don't compare. They communicate. They express what they need without dragging their ex into it. When a woman repeatedly talks about her ex, especially in a way that pressures you or diminishes you, it's a sign she is not emotionally secure or emotionally available. Some men make the mistake of trying harder when they hear these comparisons. They start trying to outperform the ex, becoming more generous, more attentive, or more emotionally available, not because it comes naturally, but because they feel they have to earn the same level of value. But this is a losing game. You will never win by trying to beat someone from her past. And you shouldn't have to. The right woman chooses you because of your qualities, not because you fit into the standards set by her previous relationships. She focuses on building something new with you, not recycling old expectations. She understands that mentioning her ex is disrespectful, unnecessary, and emotionally damaging. A woman who is ready for a healthy future respects the man beside her, not the one behind her. So remember this, you're not here to compete with her past. You're here to build her future with her, not beneath her. And any woman who truly sees your worth will never make you feel like a replacement, a comparison, or a consolation prize. She will make you feel like the chosen man you are. When a woman says, "I don't owe you anything," she's not just expressing independence. She's revealing a mindset that can destroy the foundation of a healthy relationship. Yes, technically, no one owes anyone anything in the literal sense, but the spirit behind this phrase is what matters. In a relationship built on mutual respect, trust, and partnership, both people do owe each other basic decency, effort, honesty, compassion, and respect. When she uses this phrase, she is rejecting the idea of shared responsibility and signaling that she wants the benefits of relationship without contributing to the emotional labor that keeps it strong. This phrase is often used in moments of conflict or when she feels cornered. Instead of engaging in healthy communication, she uses this line to shut the conversation down. It's a way of saying, I don't have to consider your feelings, or I don't have to meet you halfway. It's a defense mechanism that protects her comfort at the cost of your emotional well-being. And when someone consistently refuses to acknowledge the give and take nature of a relationship, the relationship becomes one-sided, draining, and deeply unsatisfying. A woman who says this is often signaling entitlement. She wants your time, your loyalty, your energy, your attention, yet refuses to acknowledge that she should offer anything in return. She might expect commitment from you, but offer none. She may demand emotional support, but be unwilling to support you. She may want your devotion, but dismiss your needs. When she says, I don't owe you anything, she is mentally creating a dynamic where you become the giver and she becomes the taker. Men who tolerate this phrase often do so because they hope things will change, or they fear losing her, or they believe they must prove their worth in order for her to reciprocate. But relationships do not work that way. The more you allow one-sided behavior, the more one-sided it becomes. When she realizes she can receive without giving, she will continue to take without guilt. When she learns that your needs can be dismissed with a simple phrase, she will start using it every time she wants to avoid responsibility. A mature woman understands that relationships thrive when both people give effort. She knows that while she may not owe you everything, she owes you respect. She owes you honesty. She owes you consideration. Not because she is forced to, but because she values the relationship and wants it to grow. Healthy couples don't think in terms of owings or debts. They think in terms of partnership. They recognize that emotional connection requires investment from both sides. When a woman repeatedly tells you she doesn't owe you anything, she is unconsciously telling you that she doesn't see you as her partner. She sees you as an option, as someone who must earn her affection while she gives the bare minimum. That is not love. That is not partnership. That is emotional imbalance disguised as independence. The truth is, you deserve someone who appreciates your effort and meets you with the same energy. You deserve someone who sees you as a team, not an obstacle. You deserve someone who believes in reciprocity, not entitlement. So when you hear this phrase, don't argue, don't beg, and don't try to prove your worth, recognize it for what it is: a sign that she is not ready or willing to build a real relationship. And the right woman will never make you feel like you're asking for too much simply because you want respect.